Now we introduce the next example of a bounded linear operator, and that is known as Fredholm integral operator. First of all, define the Fredholm linear integral operator. T is an operator is defined over C01. C01 means set of all continuous function over the interval 0, 1 and with respect to the norm sup norm. And again its codomain also C01 and norm of x, it is equal to sup norm mod of xt, and that t belongs to the interval 0, 1. So and that operator is defined t of x, x means t of xt, t of x it is equal to the integration 0 to 1 k of t of s x of s ds. What is kxt? Kxt is called kernel of t, and that it is given that kxt is a continuous function over the interval 0, 1 cross 0. Then that linear operator is called Fredholm integral operator, and it is obvious linear, that the proof is very simple. Now to show that it is an example of a bounded linear operator. So now we proceed to, it is a bounded linear operator. What is the definition of bounded linear operator? By definition, we get a C such that norm of Tx is less than C into norm of x for all x belongs to capital X. Here capital X is equal to C01. If we can get a real constant, positive real constant C such that this relation is occurred, then the operator is called bounded linear operator. Now we proceed to give it is a bounded linear operator. So first of all, it is given that ktx, it is a continuous function over the interval 0, 1 and 0, 1 cross 0, 1. Since it is a compact set 0, 1 cross 0, 1, it is a compact set because it is a closure bounded. So and over the k is a continuous function, so its attained is supremum. So that means k of xt is bounded over that interval. So we can get a point, or we can get a real number. Suppose it is k0 and k of xt is strictly less than or less than equal to for all t and s both belongs to the 0, 1 interval. So it is given by using the continuity property of the kernel. We can get a k0 if this relation is occurred. Now we take the norm of tx. What is the definition? First of all, if you look that function, it is integration over integration 0 to 1, and the variable is s, where it's like it is sx and tx, and t is independent. That t is independent. So ultimately, if you calculate that integration, so it is a function of t. So it is a function of t. So it is nothing but it is a function of t. So x is equal to, naturally we write, or always we write x is a function is xt. So it is a function of t. So if you take the norm tx and its codomain is also C01, and we all know that it is, we use the norm sup norm. So norm of tx, it is equal to supremum of over which function, because t is an independent variable, so that t is varies from 0, 1, and take a mod of integration k of tx sx dx, and the end of the mod. So now using that property of Riemann integration, if you use the norm of integration, so it is interchangeable, and only it is interchangeable, only the one sign is less or equal to. So it is equal to supremum of t less than 0, 1, and so outside the interchange the mod and integration, then we can get mod of ktx and mod of sx dx. Next, What is the maximum value of ktx? What is the maximum value is k0? So it is less than supremum of t belongs to the interval 0 1 and integration 0 to 1, and it is equal to k0 mod of sx dx. Now t is run over the interval 0 1 and it is a variable of s, so it is a t independent. That entire expression is t independent, so t free. So that means that supremum is omitted. Since it is a t independent, so that supremum is omitted. Now we proceed to invert position. So norm of tx, we can get norm of tx is that it is less or equal to so since k0 is constant, so outside the integration, so integration 0 to 1 mod of sx and ds. Now what is norm? Now what is norm of x? Norm of x is equal to supremum of mod of xt, t belongs to 0 1. So it is always greater than equal to, so it is always greater than equal to mod of xt for all t belongs to 0 1. Since it is supremum, so each value norm of x, so that implies norm of x is greater than equal to mod of xt, each value t belongs to 0 1. Now we shift, we replace that mod of sx by norm of x. So it is less or equal to k0 into integration 0 to 1 norm of x dx. Again, what is norm of x? Norm of x is particularly a real number, so fixed constant. That it is independent of s. So outside the integration, so it is less or equal to k0 into norm of x. And what is the integration? 0 to 1 b of s. Now what is the value? Value of the integration is 1. So it is k0 into norm of x. That means we can get a real number k0. That implies we can get a real number k0 such that norm of t of x, it is less or equal to k0 into norm of x, and x is arbitrary element, so x belongs to the c01, x is an arbitrary element. That means it is a bounded linear operator. So each of the Fredholm integral operator is nothing but it is a bounded linear operator. It is a bounded linear operator. Therefore, so the domain. What is the domain of that operator? Domain is equal to c01 to codomain is 0 over c01. So domain is also infinite dimension. Codomain is also infinite dimension, but the operator is bounded. A operator is bounded that does not demand that domain of the operator is bounded. If the domain of the operator is bounded, then what happens? Then that is the next theorem. If the domain of the operator is unbounded, then it is maybe possible that the operator is bounded. But what happens if the domain of the operator is bounded? Then is the operator any other property? If the domain of operator is bounded, that is the next theorem. So the next theorem is, let T be a linear operator. T be a linear operator from x to y. That means T is a linear operator from x to y, and it is given that dimension of x, it is finite. Then the operator T is bounded. If the domain of the linear operator is bounded, if the domain of the linear operator is finite dimension, then or then that linear operator is a bounded linear operator. The proof is very simple. Now we proceed to the proof. So it is given that domain is finite dimension. That means let dimension of x it is equal to n. So obviously it has a basis. Suppose e1, e2, en is a basis of x. Then if we choose to show that it is a bounded linear operator, so ultimately we can go this relation norm of xt it is less or equal to some c into norm of x. That is the ultimate that is a line we can go that relation. We can go that relation. So if you first we choose x belongs to capital X. Then since it is a basis, so that x can express by linear combination of the basis elements. So it is alpha 1, e1, alpha 2, e2 and so on. So ultimately we can write it is equal to summation of alpha I ei is equal to 1 to n. Now we take tx. What is tx? T operate over x. So since t is linear, so that is equal to I is equal to 1 to n. So that each of alpha is outside the summation, so it is equal to alpha I t of ei. Now we take the norm on both sides and use the norm property, triangle property. That means norm of x plus y it is less or equal to norm of x plus norm of y. Because it is finite, it is 1 to n, it is n finite, so we can use that relation. So we get it is less or equal to summation I is equal to 1 to n mod of alpha I and norm of t of ei. Now we choose the supremum value of e1, e2, en are finite. It is a basis and element of the basis of finite. There are n number of elements of the basis, so we can choose a maximum of or supremum. Take the maximum because it is finite. We take the maximum of norm of e of ti, where I is run over 1 to n. If we take that maximum, its maximum is exists because it is a finite. So that maximum is we choose. It is called, suppose it is called k. Say it is called say k. Then it is less or equal to k into summation I equal to 1 to n mod of alpha I. Now we use the linear combination lemma. So first of all, calculate norm of x. What is norm of x? Norm of x is equal to sum of alpha ei. So norm of x is equal to summation I is equal to 1 to n alpha I ei. Alpha I is basis, so it is a linearly independent. So we use the linear combination lemma. So that means we can get a constant c such that it is greater than equal to summation I equal to 1 to n mod of alpha I, where any arbitrary since e1, e2 are basis, so it is a linearly independent. Since it is linearly independent, that's why we use the linear combination lemma. So we can get a constant c such that the relation is open. That implies 1 by c into norm of x it is greater than equal to summation I is equal to 1 to n mod of alpha I. Now we replace that expression. If you put that value from here, if you put that value from here, then we can get it is less or equal to it is k is there, so k by c into norm of x. So that means norm of tx is less or equal to k by c into norm of x. And now what is k by c? K by c is a constant, so we can get a constant c such that this relation is open. That means t is a bounded linear operator. So that theorem gives that if the domain of the linear operator is finite dimension, then the linear operator is bounded, and it is hold for all. Now we give an example. Now we give a small example. If you take a linear operator, we already know it is a linear operator. Suppose it is a mapping Rn to Rn and T is a mapping from X is equal to Ax. What is A? A is a Aij and it is a matrix of M cross N. So we already know that it is a linear operator. Now what is the dimension of the domain? It is equal to N. And this the previous theorem says that if the dimension of the domain of a linear operator is finite dimension, then the operator is bounded. So by the above theorem says that it is a bounded linear operator. And that's all.